Hey, it's me, the Matrix Refugee, on Tuesday, May the 19th in the morning, and I pop up one of those notification things. Anyway, uh, been a little quiet for the past few days. I've been a little bit busy. Uh, but my last video was Friday or Saturday. I'm trying to remember. Saturday, I believe. I was not doing well, and I won't exactly say my brain is a little fried from what happened that had me a bit messed up in the last video, but I'm recovering. Although I think it's a wound I'm going to have to carry for a little while. Or a long while, depending. Nothing I haven't been through before, and I've been doing a little spiritual reading to get myself through it. Started rereading C.S. Lewis's A Grief Observed, which I've always found is, even though it's, granted it's his autobiography, or not so much autobiography, but just things that he jotted down following the passing of his wife, Joy Grisham. But it's one of those it's one of those books I keep returning to, whenever I'm going through a painful time. I mean, sure, he frames it in the terms of, grieving for a loss, but the things he says on pain and suffering and just, emotional distress are just, I think you can apply them to many situations. I first read the book after I had broken up with my ex-fiance, and for those of you who have only recently encountered me and haven't heard my entire life story, back in the late 90s, I was engaged to be married. I was a little too emotionally involved in this person, and he was a bit of a control freak, and I was kind of closing my eyes to that fact because I was not in a good place at that time, and he was not the right person for me. So I had to break up with him, and I had to break ties with him completely because, he just wasn't the person I should spend the rest of my life with, and I'm going to leave it at that. So, but reading that book brought me a lot of consolation during that time. In some ways, it was a loss as painful as having someone die, because it was a relationship that died. I mean, I know a relationship isn't a person, but it connects you with a person, and it was a very painful loss, and I was grieving the loss of something I thought was going to be, I thought this was going to be my life, and, it just helped me to, reading that book just helped me to move on from it, and just, come to terms with what I was going through, and come to terms with the feelings that I was experiencing. So, reading that's helping me quite a bit. Also, just plain losing myself in things. Just, reading books, watching episodes of the Twilight Zone. There's a new, one thing that seems to be cropping up on television in our area is these nostalgia stations. These stations that run old-timey TV shows, and that's kind of cool because I like old TV. It's, I mean, there's a lot of classics on there, and there's a lot of things that have influenced the things that we have now, so it's good to be able to watch those and enjoy them, and see where television writing has come from and where it's gone, And I will say, The Twilight Zone is probably one of my all-time favorite TV shows. It's just, I can see why it's had such a cultural impact, because even the episodes that aren't top drawer are still thought-provoking, and they hold your attention, and you're just, what the heck is going on here? And, oftentimes the twist endings, some of them I might see ahead of time, but it still gives you, it still gives you a whoa, But other times, it's, I did not see that ending coming, which is, proof of Rod Serling's genius, I mean, and mind you, he wrote most of those episodes. I mean, quite quite a lot. He did bring in a couple other writers, but a good 70% of them, so 70 to 75, maybe 80%. I'd have to do the actual crunch the actual numbers, but not sure if I'm going to do that because numbers math and I don't always get along. But he wrote most of them, and it's just proof of how clever and just how. And this was an age when they were knocking this stuff out week after week because it wasn't like today when there's all kinds of stuff that you can have in reruns. So they were not exactly making it up as you go along, but just this was in the foundational stage. So yeah, but to be able to knock stuff out like that week after week and upwards of 30, 40 episodes in a season, it's like, and also keeping it down to size. I mean, there was a season where the show shifted from a half-hour format to a 1-hour format, and while those episodes are interesting, they're not quite as good as the half-hour episodes because it's like, you got more time that you're trying to fill up, and sometimes smaller is better because if you've got a smaller space to work in, it's like, okay, what do I fit in here? It's I've had some experience with that myself writing drabbles because here you're trying to tell a story in 100 words and just have it, give a big impact on your reader and just have them go, whoa, So, smaller is better. It's also harder to write. So, anyway. All right, some of these episodes I'd seen before, I would say numerous times, but some of them were completely new, especially the 1-hour format episodes, which I enjoy. They're enjoyable. They're interesting. It's like you want to see what happens next. It's just like I said, the writing's a little not quite as good as half hour, but still, as long as it holds your interest, as long as it's intriguing, that's what matters. I mean, there's some. I have often said you can have the most technically well written thing, but it doesn't. What doesn't necessarily make it a good story. Because there's more to writing a thing than just being able to construct sentences and tell a story, construct a narrative. You have to be able to make it a convincing narrative that holds people's interest and just makes them just go or have some kind of response to it, have some kind of emotional and hopefully rational. I mean, I like stuff that makes you think, and honestly, the Twilight Zone really does make it. Some of the stuff, I mean, some of the issues that Serling was tackling. I mean, this guy was not afraid to confront things like racism and consumer culture and whatnot, but do it in a way that was really, really clever and just kind of. I mean, in some of the episodes, I'll admit, he does get a little heavy-handed with. I won't call it preaching, but just I won't exactly say the message either, but sometimes it does get a little heavy-handed. But it's like the story is so well told that you can overlook it. You can I don't want to say ignore it, but just it obliges the heavy-handedness to take a backseat as it were. So watching that and. Lost my place in my mental book. I do that quite often. I don't know if it's the medium or what. I mean, I can't exactly go back and edit things. I mean, I suppose I could, but that would be a bit time-consuming, and my mad editing skills are not so mad. Anyway. So, work yesterday. That was rather interesting. I wound up doing overstock most of the day, most of the shift rather, but I don't mind overstock, It gets me out of the front end. I'm walking around, putting stuff away, helping people that are having trouble finding things. Sometimes I'm the one having trouble finding things. Where do I put this thing? And 4 times out of 5, I'm doing the thing that so many customers do, which is, looking for the thing, and the thing is 5 feet away from them. I'm just as fallible as my customers. That's okay. So, today I should be getting back to work on the Dunwich Horror at a grocery store thing that I wrote, which I'm hoping to send off to Whispers from the Abyss, book 2, which is in the works. The deadline is the 30th. And I'm telling myself, okay, this thing has to be revised and emailed to the anthology people by the end of this week. No ifs, ands, or buts, you know? I don't exactly say I dragged my heels on that one, but, you know, I did the let's put it aside and let it simmer down thing. And then March happened, which was crazy. I had appointments, and the flower show happened, and St. Patrick's Day, and, you know, build up to Easter week, so it got a little crazy, so. I mean, the story is basically whole. I just need to cut one scene and completely revise that part of it. Because, you know, one of their rules was, you know, nothing that you would see in a Hollywood blockbuster. And I have this one scene with, I won't exactly say it's Wilbur Whateley's invisible 60-foot, what the heck is that, twin brother hitting a building, but it is Wilbur Whateley's with the 60-foot, what the heck is that, twin brother hitting a building, and, you know, people inside are going, oh, what's happening, you know? So I'm cutting that part and replacing it with, you know, person viewing the aftermath of Wilbur Whateley's 60-foot, what the heck is that, twin brother hitting a building. So, that should get interesting. I try and toe the line with some of the rules. I mean, I don't know, let's say some of the rules, but I want my stuff to be accepted, so it's like, okay, these are the rules, these are the parameters they've lined up for me, this is what I'm gonna do. Okay, you know? So, although sometimes I find myself questioning the rules. I've got one anthology that I'm looking at, it's the one that I'm sending the Donuts Romance to. They have one rule in it that just has me going, it's something like, no fan fiction, please. And I'm like, isn't what we're doing technically fan fiction? You know? It's like, we're playing in H.P. Lovecraft's personal sandbox, which he was happy to invite people to play in, you know? Nice when there's an author who's happy to share their toys. Unlike some authors today. I'm looking at you, Anne Rice! Amongst others. I mean, okay, I get it that, you know, I get it that they have their intellectual property and they have rules about it, but we're not taking away from you. We're not stealing your books from you. You know, our fiction is wholly dependent on the existence of your canon, and, you know, there's times when I worry that, you know, I don't say worry, but the thought pops into my head that some of these authors that have the no fanfic please rule, it's like, is this their lawyer talking, or do they have some kind of, you know, security issues that they're, you know, expressing here, and it's just, you know, if you're that insecure in your writing, you know, it's like, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there, you know? It's like, I mean, people have been fanficking long before there was, you know, the internet, so, and I probably should stop that rant there, because that's a whole other rant, and I probably could do that in a whole other video, but anyway, so, I'm not sure what the heck they mean by, you know, this other anthology means by that rule, and I honestly feel like emailing them and saying, could you explain what you mean by that, because, you know, technically we're playing with some other guy's toys that, you know, we're mucking around in his universe that he created / discovered, you know? So anyway. I won't exactly say I'm a little leery now of, you know, submitting to that particular anthology, because I'm not sure that I like their rationale, since I'm of the, you know, literature is fanfiction and fanfiction is literature mentality, you know? I mean, if you boiled it, you know, if you really boiled it down, you know, the thing that August Derleth and Clark Ashton Smith and Robert E. Howard were doing, they were writing Cthulhu fanfic, you know? So, you know? To say nothing of all the other authors since. Stephen King, Willem Pugmire, Peter Rawlik, all the other nice people at the Lovecraft Easy, and oh noes, you know? Stop printing fanfic! You know? So, honestly, it's like, like I say, when people start pulling stuff like that, it's like, really, you must not read uh, literature from before the, ideas must be original era, which, is, when did that start? The 1700s? Well, though, there again in the 1700s, there were people writing, literary, literary real persons fanfic, because, the 1700s, literature-wise, was basically high school, There were people writing mean stories about each other. I mean, sometimes they were changing the names, sometimes they were only marginally changing the names, I, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm having a hard time remembering the names at the moment, so perhaps at some point I'll sit down and do a whole vid on literature as fanfic and fanfic as literature, because it's kind of belaboring the point, and I'm rambling again. Well, I do call this vlog Rants and Ramblings from the Matrix Refugee. So sometimes I rant, and sometimes I ramble. Right now I'm rambling and ranting at the same time, too. The two are not mutually exclusive. Anyway, so. Also, I have a million roleplay tags that I gotta hit, and I have a application that I'm working on, which is due by this Saturday, because the reserve is gonna peter out. So it's just I'm writing an application for a character that at times has me going, do I really want to play this character off of people? Because he's kind of a wacko, and he's kind of abrasive, you know. I promise you the person behind the keyboard is a lot nicer, even if she does share some of the same mental issues. Some of the same mental issues, not all of them. The sound sensitivity that sends us into a lather issue, which I guess would be a neurological issue. Neuroprocessing? Sensory overload issue? Whatever. Anyway, so in that case, I'm going to stop here and get back to the writing projects that I should be writing right now. And that's the way it is today on May the 19th.